That you've probably heard, how do you make a small fortune in Israel? And the punchline is, you start out with a large one. That joke is no longer applicable to Israel, because Israel is one of the most successful, economically speaking, countries in the world. They have some of the smartest people, the greatest entrepreneurs, brilliant minds. And so Israel has accomplished greatness. But I would suggest that as wonderful as the intellectual prowess of the Israelis is, that is not their most significant contribution to humanity. No, their contribution is a dream. It's the ability to survive. It's the ability to try to overcome obstacles and make this world a better place. And Israel has succeeded in that many times over. Now, in Israel today, it is besieged by those who seek to destroy her. Apparently in the Torah, God said to the Jewish people, I'm going to give you a land of milk and honey. It'll be a wonderful land. And they got all excited, and he said, well, don't be too excited. You still haven't met the neighbors. Ah, yes. The neighbors. When Israel was established, Israel witnessed a dream come true of approximately 2 millennia. And when it was established, they shared these words. It's Ben Gurion. The land of Israel was the birthplace of the Jewish people. Here their spiritual, religious, and political identity was shaped. Here they first attained a statehood, created cultural values of national and universal significance, and gave to the world the eternal book of books. After being forcibly exiled from their land, the people kept faith with it throughout their dispersion and never ceased to pray and hope for their return to it and for the restoration in it of their political freedom. There are many other lines and many other words that are used to describe Israel, but I want to share with you the most significant as far as I can see. At a time when it was announced by the neighbors of Israel that they would finish off the job that Hitler started, and were thrilled to see all the Jews located in one place to make their job easier. This is what Israel said to its neighbors. We extend our hand to all neighboring states and their peoples in an offer of peace and good neighborliness, and appeal to them to establish bonds of cooperation and mutual help with the sovereign Jewish people settled in its own land. The state of Israel is prepared to do its share in a common effort for the advancement of the entire Middle East. We appeal to the Jewish people throughout the diaspora to rally around the Jews of Eretz Yisrael in the task of immigration and upbuilding, and to stand by them in the great struggle for the realization of the age-old dream, the redemption of Israel. At a time when Israel was threatened, they still reached out their hand. At a time when Israel has continued to be threatened, they still give back land and still seek peace. And Netanyahu is often unfairly vilified for his militance, had this to say. He said, do not think that I would not want to have a two-state solution and recognize a Palestinian state. To the contrary, I would be the first one to recognize a Palestinian state if they would ever settle down and want peace, if we had a peace partner. And so Israel has constantly sought peace. Israel is a country different than most. Most countries glory in their victories and in their battles. Israel does not. Israel fights because it has to. On this Mother's Day, we remember that they were far advanced and had a wonderful female leader, Prime Minister Golda Meir. and because she had the heart of a Jewish mother, she said, what is so horrifying about what the Arabs have done is not even that they have killed our children, but that they have required our children to kill theirs to survive. This is the Jewish neshama, one who said that there will be peace when the Arabs love their own children more than they hate us. This is what we're dealing with in Eretz Yisrael. And so there are many, many stories about the heroism and the valor of Israel. We take a moment on Yom Zikaron to remember the courage of those who fell fighting to defend Israel. We hope that one day there will have to be no more battles to support Israel. And I'll leave you with a story about Eddie Jacobson, which was told by his daughter. I don't know if you remember Eddie Jacobson. He's the one who was good friends with Truman. They were friendly together. He was a haberdasher. He dealt with clothing. And Truman was a banker. In fact, he sold pajamas, otherwise known as PJs. That's what Jacobson sold. His friend Truman got elected to be president. And Truman was surprised that his best friend wasn't around asking for favors. Finally, one day he contacts him and he says, I need a favor. Truman says, anything you want, but don't talk to me about Palestine. Not interested. So he said, I just want to ask you one thing. Won't you at least meet with Chaim Weizmann? Just meet the man. He says, I'm not interested. He says, I thought you were open-minded. You can't even meet him? So he says, all right, you bald SOB, I'll meet the guy. After he did, he said he was the greatest world leader that he ever met. He was so impressed with him. And I think maybe the reason why Jacobson was able to convince him, he said, after all, we both are interested in PJs, right? PJ maybe stands for Palestinian jewelry. So maybe that's why he did it. But anyway, he met with him. And so it happened that after Israel was established, the United States very, very, very shortly after, minutes after, recognized the state of Israel, along with the Soviet Union, shortly after that. Well, Jacobson's daughter, towards the end of his life, was talking to her dad, and he said, I have to apologize. I've spent all my money traveling back and forth, hosting parties, spending all of my money to establish the state of Israel. I have nothing left to give you. And she said, don't be silly. You have given me the greatest legacy of all, the state of Israel. And we can say the same thing. We have the greatest legacy of all, the state of Israel, alive and well in our time. We are living in a very special time, a magical moment when Israel exists and is free. And I want to ask everyone in this room also to remember the words that were spoken that I read when Israel was established. They called out to the Jews all over the world and said, you are all part of this. We call upon your support. And so we should not think that our opinion means nothing, that we have nothing to say about Israel. And so we should share our views, share our support, share our love. And the best way to share our love is to share the benefits of our wisdom. And therefore it's important that we not allow Israel to be hijacked and to be controlled by only one branch of Judaism, the one branch that tends to reject rational thought, the one branch that tends to close their eyes to all the others, the one branch of Judaism that does not recognize other branches. We must use our influence so that Israel will be free and open and reflect the views of all branches of Judaism equally, including the most progressive branches. Because if Judaism ever wants to be that light to the nations, and if Judaism ever wants to live up to its full potential, it needs all the Jewish people working with Israel side by side, and all Jews, not just a minority, to be reflected. In the Torah passage, I read to you a part where it says, Pe'at sadecha, the corner of your field, you should give to the poor. And then there's another part about pe'at, the payas, on the sides. What we should remember is what makes the Torah great is the social values that it imparts. Israel has demonstrated those values. There's only one place that the Syrians can go who are being terrorized and butchered and maimed. That is the state of Israel. Let us continue to support Israel. Let us take pride in the fact that we have a Jewish state. And I urge one other thing. If we belong to a political party that is not treating Israel properly, and we've seen it on both sides, we should never be silent. Our affiliation to our political party should never cause us to be silent in the face of assaults against Israel. Let us speak up and let us place Judaism, let us place Israel, and let us place American values and ideals ahead of our affiliation, so that together all Jews can be one in supporting the great state of Israel. Shabbat Shalom.